Hey everyone, John Lorden here. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Brainscratch Searchlight. This case, it's another one of those tough ones in terms of limited detail, but it is timely. This is a woman that just disappeared on July 1st of 2018. It's one of those where I'm literally doing searches right up till me running the camera because there's a lot of press that's kicking around on it. I don't know if there's a whole lot of information, and I was hoping that we were going to have a development on this case before it came time to shoot this, but I don't think we have quite the development or the answers that I was hoping for yet. Let's go ahead and jump in looking into the case of Bellamy Gamboa, and thank you to several brain scratchers out there on Twitter in particular that were reaching out to me, letting me know about this case, and other people that weren't even what I consider brain scratchers. It's always interesting to me to see that people are finding me from all kinds of different places now. The word is basically out that, Searchlight is a place to help expose these stories, to help raise exposure to these stories, and I'm thankful for that. So Bellamy Gamboa, this is hosted at missingadultskids.com. We can see she's 39 years old, brown eyes, black hair. She's 5'1". She weighs about 135 pounds. I believe she is Filipino. I've seen some other descriptions that just say Asian, but I did see some video where a reporter was saying he was told by family that she was 100% Filipino. Over at wavy.com, we get some more information. She is missing from Virginia Beach, Virginia. Bellamy Gamboa, 39, was last seen on the night of July 1st at her home at the Diamond Springs Apartments. The complex is near the intersection of Diamond Springs Road and Shore Drive. Police say she left her apartment between 8:30 and 10 p.m. and did not show up to work on Monday. A missing person report was filed. I'm already concerned just when I'm looking into the details of this case because I've seen the last time that she was seen slide around a little bit. And once you guys hear the condition of how she was last seen, I think that's a whole area of investigation that needs to be taken up kind of on its own. But here, saying that, she left the apartment at some point between 8:30 and 10, that is just such a wide window. It makes me very curious about why we can't lock that time frame down a bit more. Over at WTVR.com, Bellamy is described as an Asian woman who is 5'1" and weighs approximately 135 pounds, brown eyes, black hair. She has a tattoo of a band of roses on her right arm and Bellamy tattooed on her right ankle. So thankfully, we have a couple of distinguishing tattoos. Bellamy's 2005 gold four-door Ford Focus was located on July 3rd, 2018, parked next to a dumpster in the 5800 block of Pickering Street. So getting a little bit more of the story now. Not only do we know that she left her apartment at some point between, 8:30 and 10, 8:30 and 10, but now we know that she took her vehicle, and for at least a day and a half, close to 2 days, the vehicle was missing as well. Over at Fox 5 DC, Ashanti Billy case inspires missing adult alert for Virginia mother. And that's a little bit of an interesting twist in this. I haven't actually covered Ashanti's case here on the channel, but a good friend of mine, Danielle Hallen, has. So if you want to learn more about that case, I'd say jump over to Danielle's. I'll put a link in the description box below for that video so you can look into it. But it's basically a new type of adult alert for critically missing people. If they think that there are circumstances that warrant higher attention than just a typical missing persons case, they might become an Ashanti alert. And it only started in this particular area on July 1st. And basically, Bellamy is the second person to have already triggered it just in its first day of being active there. Virginia State Police have issued a critically missing adult alert for 39-year-old Bellamy Gamboa after another missing persons case with ties to the D.C. area inspired a bill prompting the public notification. Friends tell Fox 5 Gamboa's car was discovered about 4 miles from her apartment, and a dog hired by the family tracked her scent to a nearby body of water. Police confirmed they searched a nearby lake on Friday, but according to local media, investigators did not find anything related to the search for Gamboa. According to friends, Gamboa had an argument with the father of her 1-year-old twins right before she disappeared. She is a mother of 4, including these 1-year-old twins, and I do believe that this boyfriend is the last person that saw her. And once again, that just raises the question for me, why don't we have a very solid time frame on when she disappeared? Why are we looking at an hour, a 90-minute window of when she left that house? I really don't understand if they've been in contact with the guy that she was last known to be arguing with. Of course, how many of these cases do we look into where someone goes missing after an argument as well? I wish that that was far less, but unfortunately it's not. Over at NBC12.com, Virginia State Police are searching for a woman they say is believed to have been abducted in Virginia Beach and is now in danger. I don't know where the conclusion about her being abducted came from, but it is highly publicized. It's all over the place. You're going to hear comments from the family here that they've been told that this is an abduction as well. I would like to think that the investigators have either found maybe some video footage from a camera somewhere. I don't know where that conclusion is coming from, but with all the cases that I look into, it's usually very difficult for the family to convince the authorities that there is something very serious going on here. That is not the same thing that we're seeing here in Virginia Beach. So something has triggered them to kick this into a whole new gear, and I'm pretty sure that's the same something that had them issue the Ashanti alert. Family and friends led a search Sunday by handing out flyers around Virginia Beach neighborhoods, hoping to find some information about her. And from what I've seen, the family and friends have been working very hard. We're talking about a case that is only been going on for about a week and a half at this point. There has been numerous gatherings, a lot of people getting out helping. It's very moving and inspiring to see that there are so many people that care about her in this way. WTKR.com on July 8th, 2018 reported about some of those search efforts. Friends, family, and community members gathered Sunday afternoon to search. The group gathered at the UPS store on Independence Boulevard in the city, breaking up into groups to search local wooded areas, neighborhoods, and to pass out flyers to local businesses in an effort to bring awareness to Bellamy's disappearance. Quote, "She needs to be home with her babies, said Tiffany Hazley, a friend. This is just not really making a lot of sense right now." And I think she has hit the nail on the head. It's really not making a lot of sense. I hope if the authorities do have some information about this possible abduction scenario, that they might release at least the location where they think that happened, so that might jog the memory of potential tipsters in that area. That's one of the things I'm kind of struggling with in terms of looking at this case is, authorities are very clear. They think something really serious has gone on here, but we're not getting a whole lot of help in terms of how do we publicly help them? How do we ask people in a particular area to try to remember if they saw her if we don't know what that area is? Another article from WTKR.com. "We are not giving up, and we are looking for her," Charisse Gamboa tells News 3. That's her sister. "We are holding up," Charisse said. "We learned that this is an abduction case, so we're just hoping we find my sister." And here they have a photo of Bellamy and Charisse Gamboa as well. I was surprised in one of these articles I bumped into some statistical information about Virginia Beach, and apparently there does seem to be a lot of trafficking that happens through this area. So of course that is a concern. I know I've seen some comments from people where they're saying, she's 39 years old. I don't think she's quite the type that would be abducted for some type of trafficking situation. I don't know. I don't know if, obviously I think when we talk about those situations and think about those situations, we're thinking about younger people because they're obviously usually being manipulated in some way, either by money, power, drugs, something along those lines. But we have a woman here last known arguing with her boyfriend. Maybe she was emotional when she left the house. I would think she probably was. Was this some type of crime of opportunity where someone saw an emotional woman and tried to take advantage of the situation? Possibly. Police and EMS searched Lake Edward on Friday. The lake is near where Bellamy's car was discovered on Tuesday. In addition, investigators searched her home on Thursday night. That's where she was last seen. Bellamy is a mother of 4, including 2 infants. Family members say the children are safe and they're doing everything they can to keep them calm. Over at abcnews.com, as you can see, we're getting pretty good exposure to this case, but we're not really getting a deep dive in this case. I haven't seen any one particular reporter really, outside of one television reporter, do a whole lot of extra footwork to try to get underneath the kind of the known facts of this case. But the known facts are being spoken about a lot and being broadcast pretty wide. My sister would never leave her children, Charisse Gamboa said. She does love life. She loves her family. I think Charisse there might be trying to address another potential theory, which is if Bellamy was in a bad situation where she wasn't feeling good about her life, is there some potential that she wanted to go somewhere and possibly end her life? I think that's something we have to consider. We see it do happen in these situations occasionally, but we're talking about a mother of 4. That's a lot for her to leave behind. Unfortunately, we don't know a whole lot about was there other stressors in her life? Was there any type of disorders that she was struggling with or things along those lines? Those details just are not public, so I can't really speculate on that stuff all too much outside of just bringing up the possibility. And I do think people that are looking for her should consider that possibility. It just kind of makes you think about specific areas to look in. Charisse Gamboa said she is desperate to find her sister before her 40th birthday on July 16th. It's part of the reason why I wanted to kind of bump the coverage up on this case and get something out sooner rather than later. I would love for her whole family to be able to spend her birthday with her. I'm very hopeful that that might still happen. Back at WAVY.com at a different article, her family says text messages reveal she was worried about her safety in the days before she vanished. Quote, she feared for her life, said Emmanuel Gamboa, her father. She was absolutely scared. Mr. Gamboa didn't talk specifics with WAVY.com, but he says text messages sent between his daughter and a close friend indicate the 39-year-old was nervous something might happen. Her ex-boyfriend, Lamont Johnson, says he left after the two got into an argument. Johnson says he doesn't know where she went, but said it was uncharacteristic of her to leave their twin infants for an extended period of time. So maybe here I just found one of the answers to my own question. Supposedly, he's saying they got into an argument and that he left first. So that might be why he doesn't have a good time frame down. Maybe he left at 8:30 and by 10 o'clock he was contacted, maybe from one of the other kids. I do think her other kids are a little bit older, so it could be that she decided to leave and left one of the older kids in charge. And maybe they reached back out to Lamont just asking where their mom was. That could give us that window, that 90-minute window, possibly. Authorities have used boats, drones, and helicopters in the search. So far, police say they have found no trace of Gamboa. CBS17.com. Get a little bit of more information and some more quotes from her father. On Friday, her family offered an undisclosed cash reward and issued a plea for her return. She just didn't run away. That's not like Bellamy, said Emmanuel Gamboa, her father. She loves her kids so much, and we want her back. We want her back now. Here we get a different quote from one of her children. She always contacts me and my brother, and she's always texting and calling all the time, said Sienna Gamboa Gilliam, her 16-year-old daughter. So when she didn't call or text, it was a little weird. Quote, my level of worry is 100, said Natasha Fitzgerald, a friend of 18 years. She's not posting anything. Her phone is going straight to voicemail. No texts back, no replies, no kind of social media, nothing. I think Natasha is bringing up an important angle on the investigation here. I'm more than certain that investigators are already looking into phone records, ping trails, trying to see when that phone was shut off, maybe where it traveled before it was shut off, possibly looking into was other people's phones traveling with her, especially known phone numbers, if there was friends or associates that she might have been speaking to that night, or not even that night, just previously. Do any of their phones seem to coincide with the movement of her phone? Things along those lines. But obviously at this point, we can see that the phone is and has been off for a long time. Lamont Johnson, who lives with Gamboa, another interesting tidbit here, and is a father of her twin infants, says she left the apartment on Sunday after the two got into an argument. See, this is just a little bit different than we heard before. He's saying that she left the apartment after they got into an argument. He's not saying that he left and then while he was gone, she disappeared. But he's also not, I guess you could still imply that from the way this is written. I would like it if these things were more clear, but obviously, as you guys can see by the confusion I'm going through, it's not very clear here. Johnson declined an on-camera interview, but he says he doesn't know where she went. This is unlike her, said Johnson. I am concerned. A group of people organized an independent search on Wednesday night before police got involved. Fitzgerald says a volunteer canine tracked Gamboa's scent to a body of water near her apartment. Police have not confirmed the positive hit. And I don't know if they would because from what I understand, that canine was hired by the family or donated. I've kind of seen it written both ways, that it could have been a volunteer situation as well. There is a Web Sleuths article, only a few threads that are, or a few pages of this thread that are going on at this point. But like I told you guys at the start of this, it seems like there's a lot of information, a lot of press that is moving around this. As you'll see in the description box below, I have a whole bunch of additional websites that I looked through personally, but I'm not covering here with you guys today because they're really not giving us any information that's different than the information that we've already talked about here. But at least it shows that there are a lot of people that care, they're trying to help, and we know that there are friends in the area that are doing a lot of work with handing out posters, with doing these searches. We know that we have police that are very concerned, that have kind of bumped this up in terms of priority of missing persons cases in a way that I quite honestly don't see a whole lot. And I'm hopeful that that might be helpful in this case as well in terms of bringing it to some kind of conclusion. So, if you have friends in the Virginia Beach, Virginia area, please share this video with them. We want to make sure that everyone sees this face, that everyone is looking for Bellamy, and that we might be able to help in some way bring her home for her birthday, back to her 4 kids, back to her family that is waiting to know where she has been. And more important than that, just want her home safe. All right, everyone, that is it. This is where I turn it over to you. I think I've touched on most of the viable theories here. I'm pretty sure several of you are going to be suspicious of the boyfriend. Of course, he's the last known contact. They were in an argument. I certainly think investigators would be looking in that direction. We've already touched on the possibility that if she was not happy in life for some reason, wanted to leave, maybe that has gone on here. Would she have fled home, just wanted to reboot her life completely, change identities, go live somewhere else? I just don't know enough about her personality. Obviously, from what we're hearing from her family, she's not the type of person that would leave her children, and we're talking, 1-year-old twin infants. But we don't know a whole lot about her in terms of what type of person she is, what types of other stressors are going on in her life. So I don't think we could completely rule that out. And of course, the situation that is really bugging at me, she's emotional. She leaves the apartment in an emotional state. Is there possibly some crime of opportunity that has gone on here? That's kind of the one that is most forward in my thinking on this, but I want to hear what you guys are thinking. So let's talk about that in the comments below. And speaking of comments, if you did not watch Case Cracked this week, you might not know it, but I'm adding a few new segments to the end of every episode that comes out on the channel, the regular shows, Case Cracked, Searchlight, and Brainscratch, where I review the comments from the previous episode. So last week we featured the story of Richard Ricky York on Brainscratch Searchlight. He's a man that went missing on July 4th of 2017, and I've picked a couple of comments out that I wanted to share with everyone here. First one is from Jojo Stout. Seems to be a theme repeated about dropping off by the side of the road. I would never drop anyone off that is intoxicated by the side of the road, much less a family member. I don't know about this one. Chad has something to do with this, or a very random medical incident happened and his body is in some water somewhere like usual. Freaks me out. Jojo, I agree. I'm very suspicious of the situation of why he was dropped off in that way. We don't have a whole lot of detail to really be able to dive into that much more, but I can tell you part of that story is Chad, obviously. He needs to speak up somewhere to give information. I would heavily assume that investigators have spoken to him. I'm pretty sure that he's been questioned, like we mentioned in the episode, according to at least one spokesperson who may or may not get it absolutely right. It seems like Chad has been cleared by investigators. I would love for that information to be public. And sometimes I wonder about, in cases like this, wouldn't it be beneficial to Chad for police to release a statement about the fact that he was cleared, or potentially actually tell us in some way why he was cleared, or for some local investigator to dig in, maybe talk to Chad or talk to the authorities. Somehow the information about Chad being cleared is really important in terms of us moving focus and looking at in the right direction for this case, or not wasting our time looking in a direction that might not be related. But as the way I covered that story last week, I'm with you. I totally understand the suspicion about Chad. A lot of you guys actually commented on that. And you also hit on another point. Whenever I look at maps of areas and missing people, you're absolutely right. I always look for water sources. Quite often in these missing persons cases, the water sources turn out to be where some of these people wind up, unfortunately. Aaron S. Davis, I think, Aaron, you might have, I might have featured a comment of yours earlier this week, but I always appreciate your insight on these things. People seem to be jumped to conclusions about Chad, but there are any number of scenarios which could explain Ricky being dropped off, which don't involve anything nefarious on Chad's part. And anything could have happened to Ricky after Chad and he parted ways. Totally agree. I think when I started the episode, I was talking about the fact that I've looked into a bunch of 4th of July cases. A lot of bad things seem to happen on that day. Those types of situations could apply here. I know several of you talked about the possibility that if there was some type of accident, if maybe someone had hit Ricky on the road or something, and then hid him because they were worried about getting in trouble. Maybe they were potentially DUI or something along those lines. I do think that there is a strong possibility of that. I do think that people are being tough in terms of looking in Chad's direction. I've already kind of spoken to why. And once again, I think it just echoes that I wish some better information about Chad dropping off Ricky would come out. One of you commenters actually even talked about the possibility, what if Ricky was getting sick in Chad's vehicle? What if he was throwing up or something? Chad was like, get out, dumped him at the side of the road. There might be something like that at play here. We just don't have the details to know for sure. And unfortunately, all I can do is present to you guys the information that I've been able to find, hopefully ask for other people to reach out to me for clarification. Obviously, we're having that happen more and more often here. I can tell you guys to date, I have not heard anything from Chad. He would absolutely be welcome to come on the channel to help straighten this out with us. I would more than welcome that. Robin Lynn, this is bizarre. How can someone go missing for a year and law enforcement have no more information than what was provided at the start? Usually there would be tips of sightings to check out or some type of evidence to follow. This case definitely needs exposure, and I'm glad you chose it. Thank you, Robin. I agree, and it's weird to me that for the information that is out there, that it varies so much, in particular about the location. I saw no less than 4 different locations where this drop-off supposedly happened. That's another thing that bothers me in terms of kind of the Chad theory on all this. Chad is available. I'm assuming he's been interviewed. Why do we not have very clear information on this is where I was, this is where I dropped him off? And I know we got close to that in terms of Bubba's being one of the locations where Ricky was dropped off. I'm just telling you guys, the path of getting to that information varied so widely, it makes me question the information that we ultimately wind up with. I don't know how valid it is. We do know that police looked into cameras. They do say that they saw him driving around the area, but once again, we don't have details of if they actually saw Ricky outside of that on those cameras. Connie Beard. One thing I want to point out that can really be seen on a map is that the area where he was allegedly dropped off isn't a good one, to put it mildly. Bubba Green's is only a block or 2 off West 7th Street. You can find any kind of drug, prostitution, gang activity, and just about any other type of crime in the area. Had Ricky started walking north, I can only think of a few places in the immediate area that might have cameras. If he headed south, I can't think of any. My husband pointed out the railroad tracks and wondered if people searched around them. There are also homeless camps, maybe a mile or 2 east. If he isn't with the homeless population or wasn't picked up by someone and taken somewhere else, I don't think it looks good at all. Thank you so much, Connie, for giving us some insight at a local level on that. That's one of the things I appreciate most about doing this and getting your guys' feedback, is getting better insight into the situations like that. I agree. This case bothers me a bit because we are talking about a year later, and there's just no leads that I've seen. Really, it's kind of to the point of what Robin was saying. You know, law enforcement came out with some initial information about this. The reports that I saw had that information vary a little bit, but things never really seemed to funnel down to any better details than we had pretty much on July 4th of 2017. Slightly better details if we think that the location is more accurate, but like I was saying, I still question that. So I'm not sure if we really got any better understanding of this case. But if nothing else, Connie, I think you're pointing out something substantial. If we do think of a situation where Chad dropped off Ricky, we now know that there might have been some risky parts of that area, particularly if Ricky was pretty drunk and people thought that, maybe he had a wallet on him or something that was worth harming him in some way to take. I think that's really a potential aspect to this case that needs to be considered and kind of looked into more. Thank you guys so much for the comments. As I mentioned on the Johnny Vlogs, where I announced that I was going down to 3 shows a week, I can tell you that it is absolutely working. I am so much more connected to you guys in the comments, and that kind of means everything to me. That's a really big part of the reason why I started doing this in the first place. If I didn't care about your guys' comments, I would just shut off the comments for all the videos I put out. But I really do believe in YouTube being something different than television, and it being a two-way conversation. And I drifted away from that, but I'm so thankful that I recognize that and have pulled it back together, because I can tell you guys a big part of my joy that I think many of you are noticing and talking about in the comments as well is coming from me feeling that connection to you guys. And hearing these additional insights that are making me think twice about things that even I just assume right off the top of my head. Before we end today's episode, I have to thank several people who have donated via PayPal. Melissa Blake, who regularly sends PayPal donations. Thank you so much, Melissa. On top of that, James Reed, also another regular donor through PayPal. Thank you. And finally, Christy Groves, good friend of the channel for a long time, someone that actually really tries to help in these cases, helps me, helps NamUs, does a lot of work trying to pull these records together with missing people and unidentified people. I really appreciate the help that each and every one of you have sent my way via PayPal. And on the new lordandarts.com, it is now easier than ever. There is a make a donation button in the upper right-hand corner, and you can even set it to recurring if you want the donation to happen month after month or whatever interval you want. So thank you guys so much. I really, really appreciate that. I do have more patrons, but we will save them for Brainscratch. So if you've donated or increased your pledge over the past week, stay tuned at the end of Brainscratch for me to give you a shout out as well. Thank you for caring about these cases like I do, everyone. I truly appreciate having you guys out there. I hope you stay safe, stay happy. I will see you back here on Friday with a brand new Brainscratch. Take care.